How's it going, everyone? It is Prashan here, and we're gonna do a cop or drop for Arishem. Arishem is coming out soon and Marvel Snap. So we're gonna go over the card. We're gonna talk about some synergies, some counters. We're gonna talk about some decks, and at the end, I'm gonna let you know if this is gonna be a cop or a drop. Cop means that you should save your tokens, save your keys, and purchase this card because you need it to get those wins on the ladder and in conquest. Or it could be the exact opposite. It could be a card you definitely have to skip. You should save your resources for another day. It's not meta defining. It will not give you those wins that you need. So let's go right into it. Let's talk about Arishem. So at the start of the game, you get +1 max energy, and Arishem shuffles 12 more cards into your deck. So in Marvel Snap, you already start off with a 12 card deck, and he's just doubling that number. And just imagine if you have Thanos in your deck as well, that's adding even more cards. So it's a very unique card in the game of Marvel Snap where we've never seen anything like this. So it makes this card very, very unique and new, and maybe like a new archetype, maybe? I don't know. I don't think so, but who knows? Someone out there could create something new. So let's talk about some of these synergies and counters. So these aren't all the synergies and counters, but these are some of the ones that I picked when it comes to Arishem. So we have Quinjet, Blob, and Fastos as some of the synergies. Of course, Quinjet takes advantage of you having the 1+ max energy and the fact that all the cards that Arishem brought into your deck can be discounted as well. So that is pretty good. You can play pretty fast, especially if you get the cards that you want. And then next we have Blob. So on that turn 6, Blob just absorbs all the cards that you didn't use at the end of the game, and he could take you over the top in certain situations where you just need a lot of power out of nowhere. Blob definitely provides that. And then next, we have Fastos. Fastos is a card that a lot of you probably skipped out on. I know a lot of you aren't really sure about this card. I'm still not sure or sold on this card yet, but I think he could fit in pretty well with Arishem. Right? I think you could get cards that are discounted even further. You take like advantage of that max energy and you take advantage of Quinjet. You could do a lot of surprise plays just with Fastos in this deck. But there's a lot of counters, like a lot of counters too. And these are some of the counters I felt were pretty hard against the Arishem decks. And it's Darkhawk, Ronin, and Agatha. Darkhawk, I feel like there's going to be a Darkhawk meta just because of Arishem. There's no way you could get rid of all those cards. And just imagine someone playing Rock Slide and Korg against you too. That's adding 3 more cards to your deck, which is pretty insane. And there's nothing you can really do about that either. Even if you play Blob, maybe Blob can save you a little bit, but still it's going to hurt. And then next we have Ronin. Of course, Ronin will counter too, because I don't think you could play all the cards that are in your hand whenever you're playing an Arishem deck. So that's going to be a tough counter too. And I have Agatha here. The only reason Agatha is here is because if you're playing Arishem, you're going to get cards that you don't want. And I feel like there's going to be some times where you just get Agatha out of nowhere, or Agatha comes into your hand and there's nothing you could do about it. Like, you probably have to retreat because she's not going to win you the game. So those are some of the counters and some of the synergies that I see with Arishem. So let's start off with the first deck here. We have Howard the Duck, Quinjet, Okoye, Psylocke, Mystique, Rogue, Fastos, Jubilee, Cersei, Mockingbird, and Arishem. So we have Howard the Duck here just to give us some insight on what is coming next into our hand before it goes into our hand. We have Quinjet here just to discount all the cards that we receive from Arishem. Okoye to just boost every single card that we have in our deck. Psylocke is pretty good here and has tons of value because you're taking advantage of that max energy. So you could get bigger cards out even earlier than expected. We have Mystique and Rogue here just to counter some stuff, right? You just use Rogue to hit one of their ongoing cards, and you could use Mystique to copy. Or you might get random ongoing cards from Arishem, and you could take advantage of that as well. We have Fastos. That way, you could get cards discounted even more, especially with Quinjet, or you get them a buff It goes pretty well with Okoye, so you're doubling up there, double dipping. Next, we have Jubilee to squeak out other cards earlier. And then we have Cersei, just in case it's bad from Jubilee or all the other cards are bad. You could use Cersei, but I wouldn't depend on the RNG at times. It could be bad, it could be good. It just depends. You're rolling the dice, right? And then next, we have Mockingbird. Mockingbird's pretty solid. It's taking advantage of all the cards that you're getting from Arishem. And then next, we have Blob. Blob is just the cleanup guy, right? He just eats up all the cards that you didn't use throughout the game. And it helps you against cards like Darkhawk, too. Darkhawk just loses all that power that they thought that they were going to have, right? So here is the next deck we have. We have Nebula, Howard the Duck, Iceman, Nico, Quinjet, Pixie, White Widow, Magic, Red Guardian, Doctor Doom, Magneto, and Arishem. So we have Nebula here. I typically put her in the right, set her and forget her, and hope that she gets more power. And of course, Howard the Duck is going to be a common theme in all these Arishem decks that we can see what's coming. We have Iceman, White Widow, and Red Guardian for some disruption. Of course, we have Nico, one of the better one drops in the game. And then we have Quinjet. Quinjet's going to be common too in all of these Arishem decks. And then Pixie too. Pixie is going to be a wild card. Just gives everything a random cost, which will help you sometimes, or it might be a hindrance sometimes too. It just depends. It's a roll of the dice, especially if you're playing Arishem. You're living on the wild side anyways, right? And then next we have Doctor Doom and Magneto, two of the better 6-drops in the game. Magneto to just cause some disruption, and then we have Doctor Doom just to go wide. So that is this deck. And then lastly, we have one more. We have Thanos Lockjaw Arishem deck. So we have Wasp, Spider-Ham, Howard the Duck, Quinjet, Pixie, Lockjaw, Adam Warlock, Blink, Mockingbird, Blob, and Thanos. So of course Wob works Wob. Wob, Wasp, and Blob. So of course Wasp works pretty well with Pixie and Lockjaw. And we have Spider-Ham for some disruption and something to go into Lockjaw as well. That way you can get something bigger out. Howard the Duck and Quinjet and Pixie, cards that we talked about prior. Lockjaw 2 is just a casino deck, luck of the draw. And we have Adam Warlock here, which is pretty interesting in an Arishem deck because you're getting that 1 max energy. So instead of playing Adam Warlock on the 4, you could, or on the 5, you could play him on the 4, which is pretty interesting. Same thing with Blink too. You could play Blink early to get something bigger out, and then Mockingbird takes advantage of the cards that Arishem gets you. Then Blob to clean up again, and then Thanos is Thanos, right? So tons of cards and stones with Thanos. But the problem is, the one problem I see with this deck is just that the board space, right? I think there's only so much you could do and put out on the board at once, so just be mindful of board space. So after looking at these decks and talking about Arishem, is this card a cop or a drop? And I feel like this card might be a drop. Yeah, it's a drop. If you don't have the right amount of resources, this isn't good, right? Like, you don't know if you're going to win. It's basically RNG based. Like, you can get crap cards from Arishem or cards that don't synergize together at all, and you just lose automatically, right? So if you're trying to climb, or you're trying to be competitive, or if you're not infinite yet and you're still looking for a card this season, or you're looking for a card to get you over the edge, this isn't going to get you there. But if you're bored with Marvel Snap and you want to have fun and you just want to play the game, I think this is the card that is draft mode without being draft mode, right? And if you want to have fun and have crazy plays, or you don't care what you're playing or what card you'll get next, I think Arishem is a cop for you. And if you have the resources to get them and you want to stay collection complete, go ahead and do so. So that is my recommendation for Arishem. So let me know in the comments below if you're gonna cop them or drop them, or what decks you're gonna play with Arishem, or what card you're looking to or looking forward to in the future, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that's coming out in the future, a lot of stuff that got data mined. So let me know down in the comments again, like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. Be safe, keep on snapping, and peace.
Snap.